All right, today we're going to tie a lum plum steelhead fly. We're going to be using an Alec Jackson steelhead iron, size 5 in chrome or nickel. We're going to use some purple thread, and the butt we're going to put on this Green Butt Lum Plum is a little piece of Antron yarn in chartreuse green. That's a hairline dubbing product. What I do is I just tie it onto the back of the hook here, and I want it about equal with the point. So where the point ends, that's where the butt will begin. Make about 5 or 6 wraps here. Tie it off with the purple thread. And move on to the next step after trimming off the Antron yarn. Next material we're going to use is to make the tail. We're going to use a golden pheasant tippet section, and this is dyed fluorescent orange. So this is a darker orange than the natural. We're just going to measure that tail out. We want the tail to extend just about to the bend of the hook, and as you can see here, it was a little too long, so back the thread off. Make a nice base for the tail, which is what I'm doing right here. Lay it on there, measuring it so that just the black tips of this tail are equal with the bend of the hook. And I'm going to tie it down. It's always best to be tying that tail in from the back to the front. If you roll the thread back on the tail, it will splay. Next thing we're going to tie in is our ribbing. And so this is just a little piece of mylar tinsel. You could also use a French oval tinsel in a size small or medium, or any kind of silver wire. But I like to have a nice silver wrap up the body of the fly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in our Lum Plum yarn. This is a special color of yarn that Mr. Bill Lum brought me about 25 years ago. We sell it here in the store in 5-yard packets, and it's a great material to work with. Simply tie the yarn onto the fly and build yourself a little body. But before we build our body, we are going to tie in the wing and the overwing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out using some flashabou. This is just pearl flashabou. We're going to measure out some flashabou that's going to come down to about halfway down the length of the tail. So I'm starting with that flashabou. I'm going to tie it in forward, and this is called tying in your wing reverse style. This is the strongest way to create a wing on a steelhead fly. It will not pull out. It is a durable setting for a wing. And as you can see, I'm even doubling over the flashabou. You can use a few less strands of flashabou on this fly if you like. But by measuring the flashabou, this will now give me a chance to put the wing on. I'm using a polar bear here. Polar bear hair is what I prefer for the wing, but it is hard to get. You have to get it at specialty places that have a bear that was killed before the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. Of course, there are other materials you can use other than polar bear. You could use Arctic fox, calftail, or skunk, or bucktail. But here we are, we're using the polar bear, and what I'm doing is putting it into a stacker, and that will stack all the tips of the polar bear so that they're all equal. So as you can see here, the tips are going to extend out over the eye of the fly. And the very last step we do in this fly is to finish the wing by bending it backwards. This is an incredibly strong way to tie in a wing. So after the wing is tied in and it's pointing forward, we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to wrap the rest of the body. So here we are wrapping the Lum Plum yarn forward. Really simple. You want it nice and smooth. You want it even. Bring that body all the way up until you're right up by the neck, which is where we will be tying in our hackle. I'm leaving a little thread space there for the hackle. to be tied in so we don't get too bulky up there in the front of the fly. We're now going to wrap forward the mylar tinsel, and this is a silver tinsel, and the rule of thumb on a steelhead fly is 5 even wraps. 5 and only 5. Once we bring that up, we're going to tie it off. So we've got our 5 wraps of tinsel. Trim that off. And now we're going to find a good guinea fowl feather. This is a dyed purple guinea fowl feather, which is going to constitute the collar of this fly. I want to make sure that I'm choosing a guinea fowl feather that has short enough pieces so it doesn't extend all the way over the butt and the tail of the fly. I like my hackle to come right down to about the base of the butt. So I'm measuring out a piece right now, and we'll bring it up here and tie it in by the tip. So I've tied in that guinea fowl by the tip. I'm now going to bend the tip back and tie it in again. This is so that I don't pull it out when I'm wrapping it around. This gives us some real purchase here for the hackle before you start winding it. Of course, you can use a hackle plier, but I'm a pretty straightforward tyer who likes to just get the job done without too many tools in the way. So I'm just bending back the fibers of the guinea as I'm wrapping that thin stem around the hook. And as you can see, this guinea here is exactly the length that we want it to be. It's extending all the way down the body and almost touching the green butt. Trim that off, and we're going to go into our final step of the fly, which is now bending the wing backwards. Crushing it down with a fingernail really helps. And then we tie the thread in front of the wing, and that gives us a really, really solid fly that will last for years and years. The head's just a slightly bigger when you tie them in this way, but it's not real bulky. It looks really nice. And this fly is ready for just a touch of head cement and ready to go swinging on the Deschutes. As you can see here, the mylar flashabou, the flashabou tinsel over the top of the wing is just slightly long, so I can trim those pieces with the scissors. But there it is, the Green Butt Lum Plum.